Hey everyone, welcome back to another video with my Ioniq 5. We just passed the 3-week mark of ownership and I feel like I'm starting to notice some things that I wish were different. So we'll be going over those things as well as addressing the upgraded Bose speaker system as well as 2 actual issues that I've had with the car. Dislikes, and I only have one, but let me start it off by saying that I don't think it's a make or break dislike. But it's something that's been bothering me, and that's the 20-inch saw blade style rims on the limited trim. I love the way they look on the car, but my issue is with how much they stick out past the tire. As you can see, I've already managed to curb one. If you look at that gap between the rim and the tire, the rim sits really far out, almost flush with the sidewall. My previous daily driver, the Volvo, had the exact same tire dimensions at 255, 45, 20. But I guess those rims were inset a little more because I never really had curbing issues. Now, I typically parallel park 3 to 4 times a day for work in tight spots all over the city. So I'm used to parallel parking, and it's something that I've done for 15 plus years in this city. And with the Ioniq 5, I feel like I'm afraid to park close to the curb just because it sticks out so much. The first annoyance has to do with the regen levels. It automatically resets to level 3 each time you shut off the car. So you'll see the demo here. I change it to iPedal, I shut the car off, and when I turn it back on, it reverts back to level 3. And basically that first stop sign of the day, each day became an adventure because I would forget that I wasn't in iPedal. So as soon as I let off the accelerator, expecting that iPedal level of regen, but was getting less than that, then my car would just slowly slide in the intersection, and I would have to slam on the brakes, remember that I wasn't an iPedal, and then change it back. And it happened for the first 2 weeks. At this point now, at week 3, I'm starting to remember, but it's just something to be aware of. Another annoyance is the auto trunk release. A couple times early on, the car was unlocked, or I had just closed the trunk and needed to get back in. I didn't realize that the developers had programmed 2 specific rules that I wasn't following. First one is that the auto trunk release only works if the car is locked, and the second one is that if you just lock the car or close the trunk, you have to be at least 6 feet away from the car in order for the system to reset and allow the auto function release to work again. So I guess the thought here is that typically you need time to move away, and they don't want to trigger the release again if you're still there. In real life usage, 6 feet didn't seem to be enough. I felt like I needed to be around 8 feet away before it would actually reset. And similar to the auto trunk release, the door handle, auto unlock, and pop out feature also have rules in place. For this one, after locking the car, you have to step about 6 feet away and you have to wait 5 seconds before those features will work again. If you stay too close to the car or you don't wait the full 5 seconds, the system will not reset and it will not function the way it's supposed to. So at that point, the only option you have is to actually touch the sensor on the handle. There have been times where I stepped out of the car, locked it, and then immediately realized I actually needed something from the back seat. So at that point, I'm already at the rear door and I try to open it, but it's not working and the auto features haven't reset. There's also no unlock sensor on the rear handle, so it's just a couple extra steps that I have to take. Again, it could have been eliminated if they had just put a sensor on the back. What kind of issues have I had? So the very first one would be vehicle vibrations. And this dates back to the moment that I bought the car and took it off the lot. I was taking local roads around 45 miles per hour, making my way back from the New York, Long Island area, which is where the dealer was. And once I hit the freeway, going speeds around 65 miles an hour, I started noticing some vibrations through the steering wheel. It wasn't awful. I wasn't even hearing any rattling, which speaks to how well built this car is, but I could feel it. And then later on, I hit a stretch of turnpike or expressway where the speed limit was 70 miles an hour, and that meant I was driving speeds ranging from 75 to 80 miles per hour. And then I started feeling it through my seat. If I leaned my head back onto the headrest, my vision would actually get blurry from the shaking. It was kind of like sitting in a massage chair almost. And I was on that stretch of turnpike for about 30 minutes, and at least for the first 20 minutes, I had to sit up and stay off the headrest. But by the end of it, I could actually rest my head back with only very minor vibrations coming through. And my total commute was about 170 miles back, and by the end of that whole trip, I actually couldn't feel any of the vibrations anymore. So it's actually a pretty common issue. A lot of forum members have reported the same exact thing as I have, or they noticed it right after picking up the car, but also like me, they have noticed that it goes away with some driving. So initially I plugged in and I thought everything was good to go, and for the most part it is, but if you see, if I move it at all, I can trigger it on or off. So clearly there is a loose connection somewhere. As you see, the status light changes from blue, which means ready, to on, which is green, and then to red, which means not ready. I only thought to check it after reading that some forum members reported loose connection issues. Luckily mine still works. Doesn't take too much effort to get it to the on status, but definitely it's something that I need to get addressed by the dealer at some point. The last thing that I want to touch upon is the 8-speaker Bose system that you get with a limited trim. It's a 7-speaker system with a sub in the back. It's definitely not the best system out there. I would say it's average, or it does the job. I think it sounds very crisp and very clear in the highs, but the mids and the lows just seem to sound really muddy. And especially at low volume, it just doesn't sound that great. If you're an audiophile and you're used to high-end systems like Bowers and Wilkins or Bang & Olufsen or similar, you'll probably be a little disappointed in the system. But overall, I don't think it detracts from the car. It's just not a sound system that stands out. The rear wiper for me has been a non-issue, at least in the rain and in foggy conditions. I haven't had it out in a snowstorm or when there's salt on the road, so we'll have to see how that goes. But at least currently, it allows me to see what I need to see, no worse than what I'm used to.